We got to do something with, there's my papers. Still haven't done anything with a miter saw dust collector. I've just got the hose there and I'm just laying it beside it. So I've got some measurements on our outlets, on our dust collector hose over there. We're going to try to make something real quick in Tinkercad to print out so that we can get this thing properly connected. I got Tinkercad open here. Got my measurements. So the first thing we're going to do is to make a whole cylinder here. That is the diameter of the outlet on our on the saw over there. So we're going to fit this on the outside of that outlet, not on the inside. So our adapter is going to slide down over the cylinder itself, which is 64.35 millimeters. I know these are commie numbers, but listen, it makes it easier to work in Tinkercad and to work with the STL files to just make our measurements like this. So we're going to work in commie numbers. You're just going to have to get over it, kids. And we know we want this to be about 20.5 millimeters in height, which we're already almost there. So we're going to add that 0.5 there. That's our hole. So we have 64.35 millimeters. That should give us a pretty tight fit. And there's actually a ring on that thing. We could put a gasket on there if we wanted to, or an O-ring. So now we need to have a cylinder to make the actual print itself. So we want a wall thickness of 3.175. So let's get our calculator up here. But each wall is going to be 3.175, so we need to multiply that by 2 to get a total of 6.135 in wall thickness. So we need to add that to our 64.35. We got 70.7 millimeters. So we're going to change our dimensions here and here. And then what we're going to do is, actually we want this to be 20.5 as well. So we need to make our whole cylinder ever so slightly taller. We'll do 21. And then we'll shift click both of these to select them both, and then we're going to align them. So we click the alignment tool here, we're going to align them in the middle along this axis and along this axis, and we'll get them in the middle along this axis, and then we are going to join these together. And that will give us our hole. So this is the section that is going to slide down over the miter port, dust port on the miter saw. So now we need to make another cylinder. This cylinder, we're going to kind of work in reverse. So we want this to fit into the inner diameter of the dust hose, the 4-inch dust hose that I have over there, which, you know, it's stretchy. So we're going to do about 105 millimeters, and that should give us a decent tight fit on there. And we may still have to use a clamp. So yeah, got 105 millimeters there, and we want it to be a minimum 32 millimeters in height. So we're going to get 32 millimeters of this adapter into the hose itself. So we'll do 32 millimeters in height there. So we're going to work in reverse. We got 105 minus what did we say earlier? 6.35. So that's going to be basically our wall thickness. So we need a hole of 98.65 millimeters. That's what we're going to do. And then this is, what, 32, so we'll make this 33 millimeters. Again, we're going to shift click these to select them both. Use our alignment tool up here to align it on all 3 axes, roughly. And then we're going to join them. So this will be the section that goes into the 4-inch dust collector hose. This is the section that goes over the miter saw dust port. So now we need to kind of create a transition with these. So we're going to make a cone, and our base is going to be the same diameter as this, a 105. Listen, this is child's play stuff. I know that this is really simple. It's not highly technical. It doesn't offer a whole lot of wiggle room and specificity and fine tuning. But guess what? I'm an idiot, and I'm terrible with Fusion. I haven't really dedicated enough time to figuring out what I need to figure out on Fusion. So we're going to shift click these. We're going to align them. This time I think we're going to go, no, we want to go bottom. And we're going to drag this up until we snap in there. Let's make sure that's aligned. I think it's about as good as it's going to get. So this looks like it's pretty well aligned to snap to there. What we want to do though is increase the number of our radius there. Oh crap. We're going to have to break these. So we want to increase our sides to the max, and that's going to allow for a smoother print there. So yeah, that's a step I skipped. We're going to max these out again. Sorry about that. We're going to shift click, realign them. I'm sorry, kids. I'm sorry I've let you down. We're going to have to rejoin these, and we're going to have to line these back up. All right. Can we increase the sides on this? Yes. Max the sides out. That's going to give us a smoother print. Again, you know, something like Fusion probably would be a little better. You're going to get actual, like a true cylinder. But for our intents and purposes, it really doesn't matter. I just need to select one of these. Again, crank our sides up. Same thing here. Shift click those and realign just to make sure everything's where it needs to be, and rejoin. All right, so let's zoom out here a little bit. And we're gonna want to stretch this triangle out, this cone out. We're gonna line this. Let's select all these. And then we're going to line it along these axes here. And we'll bring it to the, we'll leave it there. I'm going to select that. And we'll drag it up until it's visible. And then, so that should be centered. So what we're going to do, now that we've got this roughly where we want it, let's drag this up. Drag this up a little bit. I'm going to have to decrease our snap here. And that way we've got a smooth transition into that. Okay, that looks all right. So we're going to have to create a cone hole. Let's get this out of the way. We're going to duplicate this, Control D, and we're going to make this a hole. We're going to reduce the diameter, which is 105. So we want 98.65. And then what we'll do is hopefully align these and get a mostly hollow cylinder there. And hopefully that thickness isn't going to taper off too much towards the top, which won't be a huge issue. Yeah, that looks pretty good. It won't be too big of an issue because we're going to cut a big chunk of that off of there. So we're going to realign this along our axes here. We're going to duplicate this. I'll move one of them out of the way. And we are going to make this our hole here. So we're going to ungroup that. Delete our hole. And we're going to drag this up. And this is going to be a hole. And then we're going to shift click our cone, unionize these, and we end up with that. So now we can realign these again, maybe, and that should get us pretty good, I think. Let's get close and inspect our transitions. We don't want any weird breaks in here. Yeah, so that's not, we could sink that down. I don't know if you can see that lip there. So let's change our snap really low. We're gonna slowly drag this down till we get rid of that lip there. We want a smooth transition out of this. Yeah, so it thinned our walls out, I think, with our cone. Let's zoom in here, see what we look like. I don't know, that doesn't look terrible. It's not too bad of a transition. And I think we're going to be okay there. I mean, we're going to have a little bit of a lip right here, but the airflow is coming down. It's coming down this way. That lip is not going to, it shouldn't significantly obstruct any of our airflow. You know, maybe it's going to create a structural problem in the print, but there's only one way to find out, kids. So we're going to join these all together into one solid shape, hopefully. Let's rename this because it gives it ridiculous names. I'm going to say Kobalt, miter, dust adapter. If I can spell. Now we're going to export this to an STL file. So maybe this will help. If you're just starting with 3D printing, you want to make your own stuff, this is another way, you know, to kind of learn some of that. And again, I'm not the person to learn from because nothing I'm doing here is super technical. Tinkercad is really, really basic. So yeah, I'll throw this up as a separate video, just something really short, very short tutorial on a very simple print.